Hello everybody, this is Fronito Bobbin here, and welcome to the video where I talk about Cars 3 and sausages. Actually, no, the sausages are on the thingy, even though I would love to talk about sausages. The sausages are not a part of this video. Yep, so, this is the video where I talk about Cars 3. This video is going to contain spoilers, so if you guys have not, if you're watching this video and you have not yet seen the Cars, if you, good thing I'm messing up on my words. Actually, it's a bad thing, but whatever. If you have not seen Cars 3, go watch the movie and then watch this video for my thoughts, because there will be spoilers in this video. So again, if you have not watched the video or the movie, then don't watch this video until you've watched the movie. Then you can enjoy my farting and stuff. So let's begin. Cars 3. So let's just go over the plot of the movie. Yeah, Lightning McQueen is enjoying his life in the Piston Cup Series until a certain rival known as Jackson Storm, who is a new, advanced, high-tech racing car, and Jackson Storm gets many wins, and Lightning McQueen loses to him and a few other next-gen racers several times over, to the point where Lightning McQueen is pushed out of the sport that he loves. And then Lightning McQueen has a huge crash at this one race, a huge crash that takes him out of the race and leaves him devastated for the rest of the season. So then Lightning McQueen, he's in a little shed, and he watches a little video where Doug Hudson is racing at Daytona Beach, or, well, in the movie they call it Fireball Beach, but in real life it's known as Daytona Beach. So yeah, so Doug Hudson is racing at Daytona Beach with all the other old racers, and then Doug Hudson has a crash which takes him out of the sport he loves. Kind of like the same thing that may happen to Lightning McQueen later on. So yeah. So then after that, then Sally comes into the shed and tells Lightning McQueen that McQueen should probably try something new. And so Lightning McQueen gets the idea to try something new. And so there is sausagery going on, but yeah. So Lightning McQueen decides that Lightning McQueen has a video chat, I guess, with his Rusty's boys, Rusty and Dusty, and they tell Lightning McQueen that there is the Rusty's Racing Center. And so then McQueen goes to the racing center and meets Cruz Ramirez and stuff. And so Cruz Ramirez tries to train Lightning McQueen as if McQueen were an old man, I suppose. And yeah, a bunch of stuff goes on, and then Lightning McQueen eventually gets to try out the simulator, which only leads to problems. He doesn't really know how to use a simulator, and he ends up crashing into the screen, damaging the Rusty's Racing Center and all, as the entire power the entire power grid of the Rusty's Racing Center goes out. So yeah. So then Lightning McQueen has a meeting with Sterling, the silver guy, and Sterling says to McQueen, every time you lose a race, you damage yourself. So I've decided that your racing days are coming to an end. And basically Sterling tells McQueen that McQueen may have to retire. So McQueen sticks up for this, and he says, if I don't win the Florida 500, then I quit. But if I do win, I decide when I'm done. That's what McQueen said to Sterling. And so the deal was made. Yeah. And then the next day, McQueen and Cruz go out to Fireball Beach, or Daytona Beach, the place where Doc used to race at. And then McQueen goes through a day of training with Cruz Ramirez, and they try to measure McQueen's speed on the beach. But Cruz Ramirez, not knowing a thing about being a beach racer or a desert racer or whatever, racing on the beach, except, Cruz Ramirez doesn't really know how to do it. So they waste the whole day just trying to record McQueen's speed, and eventually, at the end of the day, McQueen records a top speed of 190 miles per hour. And McQueen feels like he's just gotten slow over a single day. So, yeah. So then McQueen gets the idea to go to Thomasville Speedway to Thomasville Speedway, where McQueen decides to practice at the track, but little did they know that there is a demolition derby going on, and McQueen does not want anybody to know that he is there, because otherwise sausages. Yeah, they don't want McQueen to find. McQueen doesn't want anybody to find out that he is actually there at the demolition derby. So they try to disguise McQueen. They cover him completely in dirt. They give him the number 15, and they what did they do next? Then they did the thingy where they gave McQueen and Cruz Ramirez a couple names just to hide them and do that thing. And so then the demolition derby begins, and they try to practice, but there's the demolition derby going on. There are a bunch of other things out there that try to kill you and do all that other terrible stuff. Especially Miss Fritter, the massive school bus, who is just a complete monster, and she destroys everyone. But that is until she gets down to Lightning McQueen, and even though McQueen is stuck, he tries to find a way to get out of this mess, and he eventually does, causing Miss Fritter to crash and burn. And then Cruz Ramirez is the only one remaining, and so she gets declared the winner. And then this massive water tanker truck thing goes over to Miss Fritter, trying to see if Miss Fritter's okay. But doing so, the water truck, he steps over something, I guess, and he tips over. And he just happens to be full of water, and he tips over, and water goes all over Lightning McQueen, washing off all the dirt. And then Lightning McQueen's cover is blown, and everyone sees him, and everyone turns out to be a fan of Lightning McQueen, including Miss Fritter. And Lightning McQueen is an embarrassment, so he decides to head for Mac and just go on to wherever. And Cruz Ramirez, she's in the trailer with a new trophy, but McQueen just doesn't buy any of it. And so then Cruz Ramirez goes on chatting about saying, hey, I did not think that was actually possible. Hey, I got a trophy. And then McQueen just doesn't buy any of it, and eventually he says, Cruz, this is my last chance. Otherwise, I never get to do this again, something like that. And then, McQueen basically tells Cruz that they wasted a whole day on Fireball Beach. They went to a demolition derby and got humiliated in front of the world. Not the world, but, mainly the audience at the track. Even though it eventually does go on live TV. And of course it does. And everybody finds out about Lightning McQueen and his demolition derby sausagery. Yeah. Well, that's obviously later on in the film. But in the trailer, where McQueen and Cruz Ramirez are doing their chatting and stuff. McQueen begins to yell at Cruz, saying they wasted a bunch of time. They all the sausagery. And Cruz Ramirez gets angry at Lightning McQueen and decides to just leave the trailer. And then Cruz Ramirez says stuff about, no, I did not want to be a trainer. I wanted to be a racer, but everyone was so much bigger than me, I just could not do any of it. So Cruz Ramirez then decides to go back to the Rusty's Racing Center. And so McQueen decides to continue on to another dirt track where the Piston Cup Series used to go to. And there is a notification on the top of the screen. Go away, notification. Thank you. Oh, now it's on here as well. Fantastic. So, back to the sausagery. So, so eventually McQueen decides to drive off to get to the next speedway, I suppose you could say. And so then, let's see, this sausages. There is someone burning rubber out there. Hopefully he doesn't die because of sausagery. But yeah, moving on. Something else I want to say, but I forgot what it was. Something more on the next speedway. And eventually, McQueen decides he wants Cruz Ramirez back. He wants to continue training with her. And they just happen to find Cruz Ramirez traveling down the highway back to the Rusty's Racing Center. And McQueen decides to just pop right out the trailer and sing a song to her. And eventually, Cruz Ramirez is convinced that she wants to continue with Lightning McQueen. And she gets in the trailer. Then And then they arrive at thingy Speedway, the Dirt Speedway. I forget what it's called, but there they. Oh yeah, it was Thomasville. Was it Thomasville Speedway? I'm pretty sure it was Thomasville Speedway. No, it wasn't Tom. It was some speedway, I suppose. It was Dirt Speedway. I don't know if it was Thomasville or a different speedway. It must have been Thomasville. But yeah, Lightning McQueen and Cruz Ramirez arrive there, and there's no demolition derby going on, so they can actually practice on the speedway. They can practice drifting. They can get some nice practice. Try and get some something out of it, some exercise out of it, and yeah. And while they do their practice laps, yeah, it definitely was Thomasville Speedway. Then Smokey drives right onto the track right in front of them, and says something, and Smokey comes into the scene, and he decides to invite Lightning McQueen and Cruz Ramirez to a restaurant where Doc Hudson used to go to, and he does that. Yeah, that's what happens, and then they explain the story of Doc Hudson, saying Doc Hudson, he was a real racer. Until, of course, his crash. Before that happened, he was a real racer. And he knew many tricks. Many tricks indeed. Especially that one where this one guy was pushing him into the wall, and Doc Hudson, he flipped right over him and went on to win the race. And Doc Hudson was a very amazing racer, and he got many views until his terrible crash at Daytona Beach in 1954. Yep. So there's that, and then Smokey decides, we gotta go through some training. I mean, if McQueen is going to win the upcoming Florida 500 or Daytona 500 as it's known in real life. The Daytona 500, I guess we'll go with calling it the Daytona 500 because it just sounds better. But yeah, Lightning McQueen needs to win the Daytona 500 or else he will lose his contract at Rusty's Racing. Yeah, of course. So Rusty's Sausages. So Lightning McQueen then goes through lots of training with Smokey and the older racing boys and girl. Let's see. So yeah, there's that, and then I forget what happens next. I'm gonna try to remember. So they have that meeting at the restaurant. They talk about Doc Hudson. Then I guess they put Lightning McQueen. Oh yeah. Then after that, the Smokey takes McQueen to Smokey tells McQueen some stuff about Doc Hudson that McQueen did not know. And then Smokey takes Cruz Ramirez to his little race shop where they modify Cruz Ramirez to be faster than ever and just as fast as Jackson Storm. So then McQueen can do some practicing and try to catch up with Cruz Ramirez / Jackson Storm. And maybe this will help Lightning McQueen to get back into shape. Back into shape indeed. And so, so then that happens, and then they give Lightning McQueen 3 laps to catch up to Cruz Ramirez as Jackson Storm. And the first time he's pretty far back. Since Smokey says, there's some work to be done, and so they put Lightning McQueen through lots of extensive training to exercise his reflexes and do all that other stuff and sausagery, and then they keep doing the race with Lightning McQueen trying to catch up to Cruz Ramirez as Jackson Storm, and each time they do that little head-to-head race, Lightning McQueen gets closer and closer to beating Cruz Ramirez each time closer to getting to Cruz Ramirez, and eventually, and then McQueen goes through the forest with the old racing boys and girl, and they go through the forest as if they were running away from the police with moonshine. Yeah, that's pretty cool. They actually go over stuff how NASCAR was originally invented. It was originally souped up family sedans running away with moonshine in the back. Yeah, because that's how NASCAR started back in the 30s. That was a fun era. So there's that. And then I forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah, so they do that, and eventually Lightning McQueen finally is able to beat Cruz Ramirez, but then McQueen begins to fade on the dirt track, just like he did on that one race where he had that crash, and then McQueen just seems to fall back, and then Cruz Ramirez goes right past him, and Cruz Ramirez celebrates and stuff, and then she notices that she beat McQueen, and then McQueen notices, we gotta get to Daytona before the race. So yeah, so McQueen has to get to the race, and eventually he does, and McQueen gets to the racetrack, and has to start at the back of the field because he did not qualify. Yeah. So since McQueen did not qualify, he's got to start dead last. And when the race begins, McQueen actually manages to make up positions, even though that in this race, the Florida 500, everyone on the track was a next-gen car except for McQueen. All the other stock cars that McQueen used to race with were all gone from the scene, and everyone was a next-gen, like Chase Racelot or Danny Swiveers or Ryan Laney. Yeah. Which are puns of the actual NASCAR drivers that actually voiced them, and yeah, that was pretty cool. They got the NASCAR drivers to sausage. Yeah, it's pretty cool. They got some actual NASCAR drivers to do the voices of some of the racers. That was cool. Actually, before McQueen started his race, Jeff Gorvette was on the track interviewing and doing stuff, I guess, and it was pretty interesting how we saw Jeff Gorvette on the track. But I don't know. Shouldn't he have been up with the booth with Mike Joyride and Daryl Cartrip? Interesting stuff right there. But So yeah, Mike Joyride is there with Jeff Gordon. Although Cars 3 was scripted, I guess back in like 2015, like the scripting the scripting for Cars 3 was finished at around like probably I imagine the beginning of 2015, and that was before Jeff Gordon retired and was in the booth with the other dudes who do the thingy-majiggies, the announcing that they do with NASCAR on Fox these days. But hey, at least Jeff Gorvette made an appearance at all. I mean, he is a big part of NASCAR, so at least he made some kind of appearance. I wasn't on the booth, but at least something. Yeah, so there's that. And then, alright, so enough chatting about that. So then the race begins. McQueen manages to make passes, but then McQueen begins to fade again, just like he did in that one race. And then there's a huge crash, and everyone crashes. It's the big one, and Lightning McQueen manages to make it through the big accident untouched, and everyone decides to make a pit stop. So then McQueen decides to go on to pit road. Actually, well, hang on, there's something going on. I do apologize for the sausagery on my feet and stuff. But yes, so Lightning McQueen then here's some radio chatter in pit roads of Sterling coming in and telling Cruz that she needs to go back to the racing center. But then, after that, what happens next? Then, Cruz Ramirez gets a call from Lightning McQueen telling Cruz that she should return to the track. And then Sterling comes back and say, "Hey, Cruz, you gotta get back to the racing center." And then Mater comes in and makes a hilarious scene out of it, saying, yeah, the Mater, he grabs Sterling and pulls him over. And Mater just tells Sterling, "Hey, I hear you're selling mud flaps. Make sure to spare me some, because, boy, they are fantastic." Yeah. Yeah, one thing that I should mention in this movie, that Mater was very funny in this movie, but I'll get to that later. Yeah, so then there's that. And then Lightning McQueen comes down pit road, and then McQueen's pit crew, Luigi and Guido, come out to change his tires and stuff. Not Luigi, but just Guido, because Guido's the fastest tire changer in the world. But then they say, no, 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 don't put the tires on me, put it on Cruz Ramirez. We're supposed to be sending her back out again. And so they did it. They put the tires on Cruz Ramirez. And then Ramon, being classic Ramon, gives Cruz a very quick paint job as the number 95. And so, yeah, so then Cruz decides, she's going to go back on the track, but she has to get there for the pace car. And then Cruz just rushes right out. And then McQueen warns her, hey, speed limit's 35, make sure to keep your RPMs low. Yeah, because NASCAR is so picky about pit road speed limits these days, you wouldn't believe it. So that happened, and then at the start of the race, the green flag comes out, and then Cruz gets off to a bad start, but eventually she gets going, and she passes through the next generation cars, and Cruz Ramirez, being a newer car, like most of the next gens out there on the track, just like Jackson Storm, Cruz Ramirez, she manages to get past absolutely everyone, and eventually she gets up to Jackson Storm, and then Jackson Storm tells Cruz, hey, costume girl, you don't belong out here. This is a battlefield just for us racers, but you, Cruz, will never be a racer, and you don't belong here. Get on the side of the track. And so Cruz Ramirez just does not like hearing this at all. Eventually she loses speed, and the next gens begin to overtake her, and then Lady McQueen is on the radio telling her, hey, I know we put that stuff in you, but you gotta try to put it in him now. And so Cruz does. She gets back on her wheels and eventually gets right behind Jackson Storm. And then Cruz Ramirez says a bit of banter saying, oh, just checking on your rear end, making sure that there isn't defects or anything like that. Then Jackson's like, what? What's going on here? And then Cruz Ramirez activates the speed thingy. I guess she's checking Jackson Storm's speed, and then Jackson Storm gets angry, even though Jackson Storm says he's not getting angry. He really is getting angry, and then angry to the point where as soon as Cruz Ramirez begins to get by Jackson Storm just pushes Cruz Ramirez into the wall, scratching her paint. But then Cruz Ramirez awesomely repeats history, flips over Jackson Storm, just like Doc Hudson did to that other guy, and Cruz Ramirez goes on to win the Piston Cup Series Daytona 500. Yes. And then Cruz Ramirez does an epic burnout, coughing and spluttering, but eventually she'll get used to it after a while. So that was pretty cool. Haven't burped once in this video until now. Got a few burps now. Okay. Okay, enough messing about. So, yeah, so Cruz Ramirez celebrates. She's very happy, and fantastic thingies are afoot. So yeah, then Sterling says, hey McQueen, you didn't win the race, and I'll let you go. But then the leaderboard changes is saying that both Cruz Ramirez and Lady McQueen have won the race, because, the rule is that the person wearing the number has to start the race, and then another person will have to finish the race. Yeah, kind of like, stuff like that can't happen in real life. Like, I remember at one point, in the spring race at Talladega of 2016, in the real life NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series, there was one race where Tony Stewart started the race in his 14 Chevy like he did. Yeah, Tony Stewart started the race in the 14, and then they did a driver swap at the first caution, where Tony Stewart got out and Ty Dillon got in, and Ty Dillon went on to finish the race in the 14. Yeah, because the rule is that you can start the race as a certain number, but if you want to quit during the race, someone else will have to finish it for you, or else you will be disqualified. And that's exactly what happened. McQueen started the race, but then he gave the number over to Cruz, and Cruz was able to wear the number 95 all the way to victory, and went on to win the race, and Lady McQueen got credited as the winner as well. Because, yeah, so, yeah. So McQueen and Cruz were credited the win, and so Sterling went over to McQueen saying, hey, you gotta keep racing for me, we gotta keep selling these mud flaps, and you gotta keep racing. Then Cruz says, oh, how about I wear the 95 from now on? And Sterling's like, nah, you can't do that, you're a trainer, not a racer. And then here comes Mr. I forget his name. Was it Mel Dorado? No. Oh no, I forget his name, but it's the golden guy. I forget what his name is, but it's the golden guy who showed up at the end saying, "Hey, I'll buy out your company." And then Sterling is like, "Sure." I didn't really care much about being the CEO of this company anyway. So yeah, you can be the owner now, and yeah. So then Mel Dorado or whatever his name was comes in as the new CEO of Rust-eze, and then um, and then the king, aka Strip Weathers, I suppose, says, "Well, Cruz, we can offer you a sponsorship at Dynaco," and yeah, then Cruz Ramirez becomes the new face of Dynaco. Yeah, then Mike Cruz Ramirez decided to go classic, where she drives number 51 for Dynaco. Yeah, Dynaco. Yep, Dynaco, the dinosaur, the tiny thingy, you know. Yeah. So then a few days later at Radiator Springs at Willie's Butte, um, yeah, so Willie's Butte. Then everyone's there, and then Cruz Ramirez comes in as painted in a brand new paint scheme, racing as the number 51 for Dynaco. Oh yes, Dynaco, indeed. So there's that. Oh man, my nose is broken again. So yeah. So yeah, Dynaco. And then here comes Lightning McQueen into the picture as in a brand new blue paint scheme. And as Lightning McQueen comes in as Fabulous Lightning McQueen. Isn't that awesome? And so then Lightning McQueen and Cruz Ramirez have a head-to-head race around Willie's Butte. And then the movie ends just there. Yeah, it ends right there. Yeah, it only took me 27 minutes to tell the whole story. Yeah. So, yeah, then we go over some screenshots, I suppose, of McQueen and Cruz, and then we get the same sort of photo with McQueen and Doc Hudson doing their stuff, and yeah, it's just so cool. It's like history is repeating itself, and don't you just love it when history repeats itself? Like if it's a good kind of history, isn't it good when history repeats itself? Dang, that is so good when history repeats itself. Yeah, listen to bad history. Like if it's bad history, we don't want it to repeat itself. But if it's history that has been treasured for several years, it's kind of nice to see history repeat itself. Yeah. And so then there's the end credits, and it turns out that and then obviously I knew this from a long time ago, but yeah, Chase Elliott and most of the other and a few other rookies in the real life NASCAR sport, they did a few voices in Cars 3 too. My mouth is completely dry from telling the story of the whole Cars 3 movie. I know this review is long, but now it's time to give me my final thoughts of what Cars 3 was like. Great movie. Better than Cars 2, I may say. Almost as good as Cars 1. I imagine that most people are going to follow around the same opinion as me when they say that. You know, what are the parts that I liked about this movie? Well, I really loved Mater's banter in this movie. Like, Mater would just come along and saying, "Hey, I see you got new mud flaps. Hey, mind if I borrow some? Them look really nice on me." Daggum! Yeah. Oh, man, Mater is so funny in this movie. Oh, man, Mater, I hope that Mater gets another movie to himself. Like, well, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, I'm not entirely sure about that. Because, you know, because Mater was like the main character in Cars 2, and yeah, that movie wasn't really well received by most people, which is kind of sad. I mean, I liked Cars 2. I really did. Cars 2 is a great movie. But Cars 3 was better because we got to see McQueen doing his stuff again, and yeah, some might say it's a true sequel to Cars 1. Yeah. So, I have blabbed on about this movie for nearly half an hour, so I guess I'll just wrap it up here with a few things. Yeah, there is stuff going on, but yeah. Yeah, Cruz Ramirez. I hope that we can get like a future Pixar short or something where we see Cruz Ramirez racing in Jackson Storm and does thingies, and then we see Lady McQueen as Cruz Ramirez as crew chief, because that is the thingy. Yep. Lady McQueen has officially retired from racing, but that's okay because they have a new racer to be the new face of Rust-eze and Dinoco. Well, I'm not sure about Rust-eze, but Dinoco is certainly in good hands now. Yeah. Cal Weathers was the sponsor of Dinoco for a while, but now we have a new face of Dinoco, and she is now a full-time Piston Cup racer. And I'll be really happy to know if Pixar does come out with a little short based around the events that happened after Cars 3. I really would like to see them do a short for that. They probably will. I would be disappointed if they didn't. I hope they do. Yeah. In fact, that reminds me, there was actually going to be a short like that for after Cars 2 would come out, but unfortunately it was canceled, which was a bit sad. Hopefully, sausages right there. Hopefully the same thing doesn't happen for Cars 3, because I really want to see what happens like afterward. Yeah. So overall, I give Cars 3 an A++. Best Pixar movie that I have seen in a long time. I mean, some of the best Pixar movies have been great. Like Zootopia was great. Inside Out was great. I don't know. Maybe I'm just saying that Cars 3 is like the greatest Pixar movie in a long time, but that's just me as a Cars fan. Like I love Disney Pixar movies, but the Cars movies are my favorite of them all, for reasons that you should already know. But I don't know, maybe I'll discuss this in like a future video or something, because I have blabbed on this video for way too long. Like, this video is about to be 32 minutes. That's just insane. But hey, I figured I would just tell the whole plot. Just yeah. I don't even know if you can really consider this the Cars 3 review. I mean, I did want to go over the story and stuff, but I talk a lot, I guess. Yeah, A++. Good, great movie, Cars 3. Will we see another? Will there be a Cars 4 in 5 years' time? We'll see. I hope that there is, because Cars 3 was definitely worth the wait. And if Cars 4 gets announced, I'll be excited, because they say that Cars 3 is the beginning of a new era, and I can't wait to see what goes on. Yeah. But this has been a video of me blabbing on for 33 minutes about a movie which is great, by a guy who is pretty good, I guess. Oh man, I am so tired of blabbing on. I need to end this video now. If you're still watching this video, tell me what your favorite part of Cars 3 was. Mine would be the end of the Florida 500, where history repeats itself with Cruz Ramirez jumping over Jackson Storm. That was one of my favorite parts. And my other favorite part in this movie was the banter from Mater. That was hilarious. That just made me laugh my sleeve off so hard. Yeah. Oh, Mater. The Cars franchise just wouldn't be the same without you. Man, that's why Mater is so funny. Yeah, that's gonna be the end of this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed this very long video. If you guys want me to do a review of maybe another film or something, just let me know in the comment section down below, and maybe I'll do one. That's gonna be the end of this video. I will see you in the next one, whatever it may be. Have a good day, everyone.